Hi, this is Richard Fields with this week's Report from the Fields. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie was the only Republican to vote against the Budget Reconciliation Act, which ultimately passed in the House and was later passed in the Senate with the help of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and several other Democrats. All you really need to know about this bill is that it raised the federal debt ceiling by $4 trillion. That's over $11,000 for every man, woman, and child in the country. $4 trillion in new debt reduces any promise by President Trump and anybody in Congress to balance the budget to be prima facie untruthful. Yet all the Republicans in the House, except Massie, along with all the Republicans in the Senate and a handful of Democrats, voted for it anyway. For Massie's singular act of courage, Donald Trump called Massie a grandstander and threatened to lead an effort to primary him. That is, back an effort to defeat Massie in his Republican primary next year. It won't be the first time. In March of 2020, Massie faced a recorded vote on the so-called CARES Act. That was the $2.2 trillion spend-a-palooza bill that attempted to paper over the disastrous effects of the COVID lockdowns and ultimately enabled rip-roaring 9% inflation down the road, simply for calling for a recorded vote on $2.2 trillion so that constituents could know how their representative voted. Trump called for kicking Massie out of the Republican Party and called him a third-rate grandstander. Trump needs to consult a thesaurus. He should also have recalled that in 2022, after he received Massie's re-election endorsement, understandable given the quality of the Democratic opposition, Trump praised Massie as a conservative warrior and defender of the Constitution. The United States is well into a debt increase spiral with a magnitude greater that has led to the downfall of many an empire. Increasing that spiral will simply make the day of reckoning over our country's profligate ways much more painful for we the citizens. Republicans have majorities in the House and the Senate and a nominally Republican president. If congressional Republicans were serious about saving the country from bankruptcy and preserving the American dream, they would use their majorities to force the president, who, by the way, is constitutionally precluded from running for re-election, to show his true colors, veto the bill, and accelerate the idea of America into the dustbin of history, or sign the bill and provide the bedrock to actually, really make America great again. I'm Richard Fields, and that's this week's Report from the Fields. See you again next week.